All right, everybody, welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage for tropical weather update here for Saturday, July 22nd, 2023. Hope everybody's having a great weekend out there. We have some tropical trouble to talk about across the North Atlantic, so we'll dive into all of the details, including portions even of the Eastern Pacific Ocean as well in this live stream. So hopefully everybody's having a great weekend out there. Thanks for joining. And right now you're looking at the visible satellite imagery brought to you by Tropical Tidbits. And this is definitely a nice look at what we are expecting to see across the tropics here. You are seeing a high pressure system. You see all this cloud cover and all this convection just to the east of the United States moving clockwise here off the coast. That is with a high pressure ridge across the western Atlantic. And we're going to talk about here momentarily why this high pressure ridge is so important over here by the Carolinas and the Delmarva region. Okay, so we'll talk about that and what to expect. We have a new system, so let's get right into it here. The National Hurricane Center has downshifted a little bit here this afternoon. They did actually increase the probability to a 70% chance, or a likely chance, of development over the next 7 days, but actually downshifted back to 60% this afternoon when I looked at it. So that does mean that, 60% is still a likely chance. It's better than 50-50 odds, but the probability has gone down 10% because there's a lot of uncertainty right now. There's a lot of dry air and wind shear in the Caribbean, particularly across the central western Caribbean and up into the Gulf of Mexico. And that could be a major player moving forward with this system. So let's look here currently at what we're seeing with the ocean temperatures here across this region. It is boiling, folks. I mean, this is like unprecedented water temperatures at the surface here. Anywhere you see 26 or higher, that's 26 degrees Celsius or higher, that's 80 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. So that is plenty of fuel for these thunderstorms around any of these tropical entities to take advantage of. And I mean, folks, look at the Gulf of Mexico. We're seeing 30, 31, 32, who knows, even 34 degrees Celsius water temperatures here. So it is absolutely boiling across this region. And this is concerning moving forward because if any tropical entity, whether we're in El Nino or not, moves into the Western Caribbean and then moves over the open waters into the Gulf this hurricane season, it will be open season for a major system potentially to develop, and rapidly so as well. So with knowing the water temperatures, let's dive into all the nuts and bolts of the forecast here and look at what we can expect over the next week or so. So let's go back here to Tropical Tidbits and go to some of the weather forecast models here. And let's go over into the North Atlantic. So let's look at this and kind of diagnose what we are seeing in the general weather pattern. Let's go to the height anomalies here. Actually, let's go to, where's it at here? Just in one moment. I'm struggling, folks, today. Let's see. All right, looks like the height there we go. I found it. All right, so let's go to that and let's look here at the European forecast model. This is 12Z, just came out here earlier on this afternoon. And you do see there's a lot of things going on here. You have a Bermuda high up here just to the east of, oh, by the way, yeah, Tropical Storm Don is across the North Atlantic right now. So there is a high pressure system just to its east. So all the steering current is underneath, and it's just in a prime location right now. The high pressure here across portions of the Northeast Atlantic is further north enough to where any tropical wave moves off of Africa, and there's likely going to be more waves to come beyond what we're seeing here with a 60% probability, by the way. It will be moving into the Lesser Antilles, the Windward Islands, and then perhaps into the Central Caribbean. So that in itself is concerning synoptically, looking at the weather pattern moving forward and towards that time frame. So let's move this a little bit further here. That's today. Let's move into early next week here. This is on Monday. And you do notice that tropical system that is Don across the North Atlantic will actually move further north and east, kind of get overtaken by this ridge of very strong high pressure over here into the central North Atlantic per se. And what this means is that we're going to see more of the steering current further to the south underneath that across the Caribbean here, even as we go into Monday. But there is a problem though. You see the maroon red colors here extending down into South Florida, Cuba, and into the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, that's a ridge of high pressure. And by the way, there's going to be blistering heat in the United States. So if you guys need to stay hydrated, be sure to do so because it's going to be hot. If you haven't checked out my forecast for that yet, yeah, it's going to be hot across the United States. More on that in my forecast. But for sure, these two high pressure systems will play a major role as the system moves further to the west because the maroon reds is basically going to be a roadblock for this system to get into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, is it impossible for this system to move into the Gulf of Mexico? Probably not, but it does look like we are going to start to see this shifting further to the west rather than moving northwest, at least during that Monday time frame. Now, as we go into the middle of next week, this is on Wednesday, and you start to see the maroon reds and a lot of the high pressure starting to move back into the northeastern Atlantic. This is going to be a trend worth watching in the model forecast. And again, I know I'm using the European forecast model, but the models haven't really captured this very well. The ensembles have, but the models in general, the operational guidance, the Euro, the GFS, which is the American model, and the CMC, which is the Canadian model, really have not picked this up very well. But right now, just synoptically, this is what we are seeing. So there is a brief window that this could turn northwest if it gets into the Western Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico. Is it a big window? Probably not, but it does look like something we'll have to watch moving forward as we go through the new week here. And then by the time we get to the end of the week, by Friday, July 28th, yeah, there's just really not a lot of favorability for this to get into the Gulf of Mexico, at least on the European forecast model. So let's go over to the GFS. Let's see what the GFS has to say about this as well. So let's start back here on Monday, and you can see, yeah, we have the maroon reds. We have a very strong ridge across portions of the North Atlantic here. It's more of a steering current towards the west. And then as we shift it into the midweek time frame on Wednesday, we have that brief window. So it looks like centered around Wednesday, we have that brief window of opportunity for this system to turn more to the northwest in toward the Gulf of Mexico if it is into the Western Caribbean. And then as we move forward here on Friday, yeah, we see building heights across portions of the Gulf Coast, which actually could be a saving grace for it moving in towards the United States. And then this will actually track it more across Central America. So what I'm seeing here, all in all, is there's two model camps that are starting to emerge here as of this afternoon. And I know the National Hurricane Center is looking at this. The National Weather Services down here in the South Florida, closer to the United States and all of that, are looking at this as well. Looking at the synoptic side of things, it does look concerning with the steering current. But when you dive into the details here, it starts to look a little bit murky in some areas. So remember I said there's dry air, there's a lot of wind shear, but the sea surface temperatures are off the charts. So that is something we'll have to watch. That is one ingredient, of course, that gives us the potential for a major system moving forward, especially if it can propagate into the Western Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico and stays over the water or not. And here's another thing as well I want to mention. So talking about the two model camps here, and let's get into this. Let's look at the ensemble guidance real quick. This is the EPS ensemble, and this does fairly well. This is last night's run, and we're going to go and look at some of the ensemble members where the pressure centers are. And this is very good to look at. An ensemble model basically just takes all models that are in its envelope and basically puts it into one output here on the screen, and they cluster them up, and you see where the different tracks are and get the most likely scenario. So you always want to look at ensembles for this as well. So you see, as we move through the week, we have that clustering up here as we go into tomorrow. You see some of the low pressure tracks well east of the Windward Islands here as we go into your Sunday. Then into early next week, Monday, Tuesday, it pushes it into the Eastern Caribbean. But you notice we don't see a lot of bright colors here. You don't see the yellows that are on the key here to the right-hand side of your screen or the oranges. That means we're likely not talking about a strong system as we move forward into portions of, say, the Eastern Caribbean, at least at first. So we'll continue to monitor that even though the warm waters are there. And then as we go into Thursday, you start to see some more lime green starting to show up. Yeah, maybe a stronger grade tropical storm potentially starting to develop there on the EPS. But here is what I like to see. And again, I say I'd like to see it, but at least for the United States purpose, looking here on Friday, July 28th, earlier on yesterday, the 12Z run of the EPS ensemble had a couple ensemble members pushing it up into the Gulf, and then a couple of them further to the west into the Central Americas. Well, this is 0Z last night, and I haven't taken a look at the 12Z just yet, but it does look like it has the consensus into the Central Americas. Now, it won't be good for them because they will have flooding potentially in a stronger system, and again, it's still a little bit uncertain the overall track of this. This is just one ensemble area to look at, but there's other ensembles, the GEFS, the GEPS here, the Canadian and the American ensemble guidance. But generally what I'm seeing is it's implying the same thing with the system pushing more towards Central America than into the Gulf, which if that is the case, that would be some great news. It will be more active into the Eastern Pacific, though. If this crosses over the Central Americas, it will make the Eastern Pacific Ocean very busy into the following weekend and the following week beyond that. So that will be something to watch for Mexico, portions here of the Central Americas, and even the Yucatan Peninsula down here as well. So that will be something to watch. So right now, it looks like a waiting game still. There's still some uncertainty, but I am seeing clustering up at least of a lot of the ensembles here across the Central Americas and less of them into portions of the Gulf. But let's look here at the GEFS. This is the American guidance. This is at 12Z, so this is the newest version. And you do see here early next week, same consensus, a low-end tropical depression, tropical storm status as it pushes across portions of the Antilles and then into portions of the Eastern Caribbean. So not that big of a deal. Yeah, there'll be some heavy rainfall. Sure, there could also be some flooding. We'll watch out for that, but I don't think it'll be overall that bad of a system for there. And then as it pushes into the Western Caribbean, it also takes it into the Central Americas as well. This is EVS 12Z. So this also misses the Gulf of Mexico with a lot of the, about 95 to 100% of the tracks on this as well. So that's what it's telling me. And then let's go to the Canadian ensemble guidance. This is also 12Z, and let's look at this as well. And I hope it's easy enough to see on your screen there. And you do see that there it is, the flare up. It has it a little bit further to the south, so it's over the open waters a little bit more than interacting with the land, so it gets a little bit stronger into the Central Americas. But overall, I don't see really any of the members really getting into the Gulf of Mexico. Maybe one or two of them, but the majority of them, again, 95 to 100% of them are moving into the Central Americas, even on the Canadian ensemble guidance as well. So there's some good news as well. Something to keep an eye on, that is for sure. Trends can emerge still. We can see a lot of differences in the next few days where it looks like it's going into the Central Americas now. It could take a turn into the Gulf in the next couple of days, and the models could change. So we'll continue to watch that moving forward. And I kind of actually want to look here at something else real quick. Let's go back to the EPS. This is 12Z, I believe. Yeah, it's just running the 12Z right now. So let's go back to 0Z here. And let's look at, where are we at here? Let's look at the upper level wind shear here. And you see there's a lot of shear there into the Gulf of Mexico. And you see it's really ripping these storms apart. See, there's a lot of shear. You got the moderate shear down here into the Gulf of Mexico and even into the Caribbean as well. So that's what we're seeing currently. So it's hard to tell how this system will really evolve right now. We're still, 5 to 7 days out from really getting into the Western Caribbean. So we have time. but we'll continue to watch it. Again, we'll go back to the National Hurricane Center's outlook here. This is a 60% chance of development, and these are the words from the National Hurricane Center. They do mention that there is shower activity associated with a small area of low pressure located roughly midway between the Cabo Verde Islands and the Lesser Antilles. It has become a little less organized since yesterday, all right? So that's the words from the National Hurricane Center as of this afternoon. They also go on to mention the environmental conditions are forecast to remain marginally conducive for some gradual development, and this system could become a tropical depression early next week while it moves westward across the tropical Atlantic. Interests into the Lesser Antilles should monitor the progress of this system. The formation chance through the next 2 days is a 40% chance. That's a medium probability. And the formation chance over the next 7 days is a medium 60% probability. So those are the words from the National Hurricane Center on their synopsis and outlook here from earlier on this afternoon. So we'll continue to watch that moving forward and see if they have any more updates. It was, again, up to a 70% chance earlier on. They did take this back down 10% to a 60% chance now. So that is some good news that we'll keep an eye on as we go forward. I will have updates on this channel, my main channel here. And by the way, folks, I do have a new YouTube channel. This is mainly for the North Central United States. Great videos, folks. If you haven't seen it yet, go check out those videos. I have a new video out from this morning. They will always come out at 7 o'clock in the morning, Central Daylight Time. So early in the morning when you're getting up for work or school. I know the school season is starting as well pretty soon into August, so you guys can check that out. But yeah, we're starting to get into that as well. I got a new YouTube channel, so it's pinned. The message for that is pinned at the top of the comment section here on the live stream. So click on that, and you can go subscribe and follow me there as well. I appreciate that, and you can go watch my videos. I see we're already up to 152 subscribers, so thank you for all the support on that channel as well. I will continue to do both channels. This is my main channel, Weather on the Go, and then I have the other one, North Central Weather Center. So that will obviously focus across the North Central United States. So we're talking about the Northern Plains, the Central Plains, the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley mainly on that channel. So go check that out and subscribe. I appreciate that as well, especially if you live in those areas. Oh yeah, and absolutely. Tim Key says, don't forget to that like button. Yeah, press the thumbs up button down below on those videos to help me get more traction on the videos, especially even on this channel as well, so we can get more of this information out. And press the like thumbs up button on here as well on the live stream. Everywhere you go to watch my videos, my live streams, please just show support and hit a simple button. It's all you have to do. Press 2 buttons, like and subscribe if you haven't. And if you have subscribed, all you got to do is press that like button. So I appreciate that as well. You can share this live stream, share my videos with anybody on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I appreciate that as well. It definitely gets the word out. So thank you so much for your support. All right, so before I talk about more of the hurricane stuff, that's just what I wanted to mention to you folks is that, yes, we have a new channel out there. So that is pretty awesome. I know a lot of you folks like this, the new channel, because it kind of, hones in more on the North Central states instead of just the entire United States. Of course, you can always watch both of my channel videos. They'll always be out there for you. All right. Let's look at the Eastern Pacific because we got a couple things to look at here. At least one thing. We have post-tropical cyclone 4 here, and this is really over the open waters, and it's going to be falling apart as we go into Sunday. So that's something we're going to continue to monitor there in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. Other than that, really, we're not seeing anything too significant over here in Hawaii anymore. It is getting closer to Hawaii again, just like the other tropical storm did, Calvin, but this is not moving towards Hawaii and producing a big hurricane or anything like that. So I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. Jack Attack, I subscribe to your new channel. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Tyler, as well, for the support. Linda says, thank you for the weather update. We'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Absolutely, Linda. She has to go, apparently. So thank you so much for being here, Linda. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's what we're seeing across the tropics. The main area of concern for more robust development is down here across the MDR, the main development region, and into the Eastern Caribbean. A lot to unpack with that in my videos in the days to come. So I just wanted to update you folks on this. Wasn't going to be a long live stream today. Just kind of wanted to go live. I haven't been live in a while, and I wanted to talk to you guys about what we're seeing here. Of course, again, the water temperatures are just off the charts here, and that's one of the ingredients. Again, it's not all about the sea surface temperatures and how warm they are. Obviously, there's more factors to it. The dry air from the Saharan dust off Africa, also the wind shear across the Caribbean and Gulf, and a lot of other things as well. So a favorable phase in the MJO, all that stuff really does play a part into the hurricane season. So, and El Nino, of course. El Nino is a big factor, so we can't forget about El Nino, and that is what we're seeing right now. In fact, let me check on El Nino real quick just while we're here. Yeah, look at the chart, folks. We're up to a moderate El Nino, or at least we are very close to that. +1 is a moderate El Nino, and we're well above a weak El Nino right now. We're closer to a moderate than we are a weak. So that is what we're seeing currently. And so this will actually play a big role as we go into the fall and winter months. El Nino never really shows its weather pattern that much through the summer months until we get into the fall and winter. Excuse me, I had to sneeze real quick. You know, the pollen is growing, folks. It is summer after all. But yes, we are seeing here the El Nino continues to strengthen. You see all the way back to May 27th. Hopefully you can see that on your screen. I know it might be kind of small for you. I apologize for that. But yeah, going all the way back to May 27th, the end of May, it was kind of steady at a weak El Nino. And then it really kind of jumped up from the end of May into early June there through the 10th of June. And then it's kind of been steadily climbing towards moderate El Nino status. So the door is still open for it to become, a strong El Nino as we get deeper into the fall, October, November, and then into winter, December, and January. So we'll continue to watch that. El Ninos usually last 8 to 12 months. So that's some more facts about that. So that's kind of what we see. So it just started basically a couple months ago. So we have several more months to go of this El Nino phase of climate. And that's what we're going to continue to watch moving forward. And where you look at for El Nino is down in this region here. And hopefully, again, you can see this on your screen. I can't zoom it in any further, unfortunately. But we do see there is a lot of warm waters down here. And you look toward the equatorial Pacific and where the equator is here, just to the west of South America and the Central Americas. And you see the warmer sea surface temperatures and anomalies down here with the reds and oranges. That signals El Nino. When you have a blue areas showing up, which is cooler than normal sea surface temperatures and anomalies, that is La Nina. And then obviously the hybrid of the two will, warm and cool would be ENSO neutral. And we just went through that in the spring months. So that is something to definitely look out for as well. So the El Nino continues to strengthen. And this is going to be a problem for the hurricane season in the Eastern Pacific, in the portions of the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic, especially what we're seeing here over the next several days. Like I said, I will keep an eye on that as well. You know what's really interesting is that I do see some cooler waters off the coast of California back here and west of the Baja of California. This has been actually interesting because every system that has developed in the Eastern Pacific has some longevity of being stronger right near the coast of Mexico. But as soon as it turns from going southeast to northwest and then turns due west into the cooler waters here, it just completely falls apart. So that's basically what we're seeing. But Hawaii's over here, and Hawaii actually has near normal sea surface temperatures right now. You have the big warm blob over here into the northeast Pacific. You have the cooler anomalies in between, and then you have the equatorial Pacific with the El Nino. Hawaii's kind of right in between that with near normal sea surface temperatures there in the central Pacific. And they actually had a Tropical Storm Calvin there in Hawaii not too long ago. So that was very interesting to look at as well. So that, and they had a little bit of some cooler waters to work with. That did help Hawaii out as it usually does. So that's some good news. But Yeah, like I said, folks, the North Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf. I mean, look at the Pacific side. Just take a look. I know the Pacific Ocean is much bigger than the Atlantic, but take a look at the Pacific and see where all the blue blobs are, where we're seeing below average temperature anomalies with the waters temperatures out there. And then look onto the Atlantic side over here, north of South America, all across that region. I mean, it's hard pressed to see any blue blobs. I suppose there's one right there up towards where Don is. Of course, that is influenced by Don, the upchurning of the waters, where Tropical Storm Don has been spinning up in the North Atlantic. That's why we have that blob up there. But other than that, we're really not seeing anything below normal right now. So that is a problem. That is a big, big problem. So we're going to continue to watch that. And this is really feeding into our major heat wave, too. So, not only does it feed into the hurricane season, folks, but it feeds into the heat wave. So, when we have very warm waters in the Gulf and you have a southerly wind, say in Lake Charles, Louisiana, or Shreveport, or Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, or even Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Atlanta, those areas that I just mentioned, that's where you see the major heat being a problem because the waters are not helping us out here in the Gulf. They're well above average. And I can go back here and show you the waters here and places into Texas and the Gulf Coast. If you have a southerly wind off this water, that's why we have the extreme heat that we do across the southeast United States. So that's a problem in itself. So not only is it feeding into the hurricane season, but it's also feeding into the heat that we see later on here this summer. So that is another problem that we'll have to continue to watch moving forward. How long does the Gulf of Mexico stay warm? Like, I suppose if you get a couple big systems to move in, of course, it won't be good, but it will cool the waters down. But I think personally, I haven't put my fall forecast out, folks, just yet. I will be waiting to do that probably another couple of weeks. I think into early August, I will be putting my official fall forecast for 2023 out. So be sure to watch out for that on this channel. And I will be also updating it on the other channel with the fall forecast for the North Central states in a couple weeks as well. But why I mentioned fall is because if you live in the southeastern United States and you have warm waters like this, it's easy to get a southerly wind in the fall. And you know, it's fall and spring are two of the windiest seasons of the year. So that is something that we have to watch out for because if you get a strong south wind or southwest wind off the Gulf here, it could be a very warm fall for you down here across the eastern 2/3 of the country. So this will play a major role in our severe weather season this fall, which is also known as the second season of severe weather, and also playing a big role in how warm our temperatures will be into the eastern 2/3 of the country this fall, mainly along and east of the Rockies. And it will play a major focus into August, September, and October for the hurricane season, of course, as well. And that's why we're here today. So that is something we'll watch. That's what I wanted to mention to everybody. So I appreciate all your support today. And nonetheless, I know we focused on the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the MDR, the main development region out here east of the Lesser Antilles, but look at even the Western Atlantic, near the coast of the Carolinas there, off of Myrtle Beach, off of Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia there, the Jacksonville Beach area, down to Miami Beach. I mean, it's been hot in Miami. There's no telling. Those heat indices in Miami, I saw them over the past couple of weeks, and I was like, wow, it was hot, folks. We're talking dew points into well into the 70s, if not pushing near 80 degrees some afternoons with the dew point. And I don't know if you guys live in the Midwest or not. I know some of you do, probably on the live stream today. But what we see with those dew points is it measures the moisture content in the atmosphere. And the higher the dew point, the more moisture there is. The lower the dew point, the less moisture there is. And usually above about 60 degrees Fahrenheit for dew points, you start to see uncomfortable. Conditions. You go outside and you start to feel it a little bit kind of sticky out there. You can feel the moisture in the air. If you get above 65 to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit dew points, that's when he starts to get more uncomfortable. You have to shut the windows, you have to turn the air on, and you kind of sweat when you go outside. But when it's up to near 80 degrees, I mean, it is a swamp outside. You walk outside, you do no exercise or anything. You just walk outside and you're already sweating the minute you walk outside. That's what we're seeing down here in South Florida because of the water temperatures. And let's face it, it's Florida. It's going to be muggy. It's going to be hot every single afternoon. So that is something that is a problem moving forward as well. All right, so let's look at some of your comments. I know I've been talking and talking and talking, so let's look at see if you guys have any questions for me. Make sure to put the questions down into the live stream chat. I will be going through each and every single one of your questions that I see on here. So make sure if you have any questions regarding anything weather-wise. I can even take questions about the fall right now. I can't really go too in depth with the fall forecast right now because I haven't put a video out yet and I haven't really looked at it too much besides these water temperatures. But if you have any questions about fall, I can try to generalize the answer for you on here as well. So James Moody says, will North Carolina experience the hottest temperatures of the year so far later this upcoming week? Yes, I think that is a very good bet for you. And I'll go back to show you proof of that is here. Let's take this back here into this is the contiguous United States here. There is North Carolina, and this is let's go back to the European forecast model. This is 12Z. Here is today. This is this afternoon, and you see you're on kind of the easternmost periphery of the heat. You see the big heat dome out here to the west with the maroon reds, and where you see the red outline, that's really where we see those heights building, and it kind of correlates more to those middle 90s, upper 90s, and even to the 100-degree temperatures or higher, especially when you get into the maroon reds. So that's today. North Carolina, you're more into that orange type of shade there, yellowish orange into North Carolina today. As we go into tomorrow, you see it starts to build into that deeper orange, so it's going to start building those heights up a little bit in North Carolina, and we'll start to see more and more of the heat building as we go into Sunday. And then next week, look at that. Yeah, we see the red building in by Monday night there across portions of North Carolina, and that heat really takes over, and it stays with us into North Carolina through next week. In fact, we could get into the maroon reds down here with those building heights as we go in towards portions of later next week. That is 594 plus DM decameters. So what that is a fancy word of where you usually see the building heights. You usually correlate that with the extreme heat out there. So when you see lowering of the heights, like we see in the wintertime, that is where you see more of the Arctic air moving in. So we don't see that, obviously. We do have a little bit of a cool down for the Pacific Northwest, and I say cool down, it's going to only cool back down to the 80s as we go into later next week, perhaps. But the heat will be on across the Great Plains, the Ohio Valley here, and yeah, it's going to be a major factor there. And let's actually look at those temperatures for portions of North Carolina, shall we? So looking at the temperatures here, as we go through, and it might be a little blurry for you, I apologize for that, but looking at this for tomorrow, if you're in North Carolina, minus the Appalachian chain here, you're going to be well into the 80s, if not pushing 90 degrees, especially as you get into eastern and central North Carolina. And then as we go into Monday, we're going to be getting even hotter. We have more 90-degree weather pushing into South Carolina here. And look at the triple digits way off to the west here into the Arklatex. And then as we go through next week, this is the Wednesday time frame. There's the mid-90s. Even the Appalachian chain, we're well into the 80s as we go into the Asheville region, up there in towards portions of Western Virginia, Eastern West Virginia. So we'll be watching that. And then by late next week on Friday, yeah, we're well into the 90s and closing in on triple digits from Virginia down into North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Much of the Southeast will be pushing close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit by the time we get into Friday, July 28th. So hopefully that answers your question. Yes, it looks like the hottest temperatures so far this year across North Carolina. All right, let's see here. Any other questions? Please, sir, Jay, I'm going to have to time you out. You keep spamming my page. All right, so I'm going to have to time you out there. I apologize for that, but you're spamming the crap out of my page right now, so please stop. Thank you. All right, so let's see. Sorry, I couldn't see some of your questions because I had somebody spamming on my live stream chat, so I apologize, folks. Let's see here. Rain Mav says this El Nino will be home here until the next year, maybe longer. Yeah, that's a good bet. It's greater than a 90% probability of continuing through the 2023 and 24 winter, this upcoming winter. So that's a good bet. Yes, it will go into next year. Tyler Stokes, dew points in Miami are like the 80s, very humid down here. Yeah, it's very very muggy. You walk outside and it's like air you can wear. That's what they always say. A lot of meteorologists say that air you can wear. You walk outside and you can just feel it automatically. It's crazy. It's crazy how hot it actually gets with the humidity. When you add in the humidity, it just makes it so much worse. Jack Attack says, in Pennsylvania, we had a tornado warning. Do you think there will be more bad weather to the northeast? Yeah, the northeast is actually on the northern periphery of that ridge. So as we go into next week, you see the heat building in the middle, like south central United States for the most part. We're going to have an active jet stream at first up here as we go into early next week. It's going to be across portions of the southern Canadian provinces. So into Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, and then diving southeast there. And again, we don't like to see this. It dives southeast and then picks up the moisture and puts it over the northeast. We see that early next week. We'll have to wait and see on that, but then it kind of moves further north as the ridge does into the middle of the week, but then it returns south again by the time we get into the following weekend and into the following week as that ridge begins to take more of a zonal flow over the top there. And zonal flow meaning the jet stream is more flat, so you have more of a west to east jet stream across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and Northeast, so more storm chances up here, and dry weather will persist across the South. So don't be looking for any rain if you live in Texas, the Four Corners, Southern California, the Southeast. It's probably just not going to happen. And if you see a pop-up thunderstorm and you have a downpour anytime next week or next weekend in the Southeast or down into Texas or anything like that, consider yourself lucky. That is for sure, because it is certainly going to be hot and dry. That's for sure. Maria says, what about the Northeast U.S. and Quebec? Yeah, Quebec is more in the active zone, so I think Quebec's going to have several opportunities for storm complexes. In fact, the European model is actually spitting out a couple inches of rain between now and August 1st for much of the Northeast, from Pennsylvania into New York State. Unfortunately, back into Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, and then into Quebec, we have a couple inches of rain here as well. So that is something we'll keep an eye on as we move forward. The active storm track will be up here, and this could lead to the threat for severe weather and of course, heavy rainfall. But I am concerned about the severe weather threat. Why am I concerned about that? Well, looking at the jet stream orientation here, you see a couple shortwave troughs moving through, and it's going to be a parade of them. You're going to see one every 1 to 3 days, and it's going to move through the United States and southern Canada and provide the threat for storm complexes and perhaps even heat relief. If it gets hot in the Midwest and you see a storm complex come through, rain cool there, definitely some good news up here. We still need the rainfall as well with the drought ongoing in the Midwest too, so that's still some good news for there. But I'm eyeing up later this week towards Friday into early next week. It looks like as the jet stream takes a more zonal flow from west to east, like I mentioned, it flattens the jet stream out over the top of that high pressure ridge. And remember, it's dry across the south here. We're going to have just a parade of storms moving across this region. So that's why I think the drought is going to go bye-bye across this region as we go into early August because of all this rainfall. Let's see what the GFS is showing here. Yeah, look at the jet stream, folks. The GFS is actually even more bullish on the jet stream. This is 250 millibars. This is the upper level jet, putting 110, 115 knot jet stream over portions of Minnesota there near the Twin Cities and into northern Wisconsin. And that is some quick movement. So that tells me that there is a potential for we toss this word around a lot in the summertime, but derechos, we definitely have the potential for that. Not to say it's going to happen. That's definitely not what we're saying here, but the potential is there, especially when you look at This is the Cape values. Wherever you see a color on the map, you have the potential for thunderstorms because of the energy in the atmosphere. The brighter the color, the higher the potential of thunderstorms and thus severe weather. So we see that moving into the northern United States over and over and over again as we go through the weekend, this weekend, and into portions of next week, next weekend, and into early August. It just continues. And again, the Gulf of Mexico is the culprit, bringing the moisture up into the eastern United States and providing us the threat for heavy rain and severe weather. Now, I do want to tell you folks that the GFS has been crazy lately with these high temperatures. Do not get scared when you start to see high temperatures at the end of the GFS run and you start to see like 116. Like I'll go back to the 06Z run. And just folks, I mean, these temperatures are a little bit too much for me. The GFS is getting up into like 108 there into Kansas. While that's possible, I don't think it's quite going to get that hot into Kansas there. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's just kind of extreme with some of these temperatures. So the GFS has been, there it is right there. Here, I'll zoom in to like portions of Missouri there. And it shows 114, 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not happening in northern Missouri. As much as the GFS wants it to happen, it's not going to happen. So don't worry about the GFS run. The 06Z and the 18Z runs are not very accurate sometimes, especially when it comes to temperatures. And look at that. I just went same time frame, 115 there in northern Missouri, and the GFS's 06Z run. And then the new run at 12Z, more accurate. Yeah, the upper 90s looks a lot better than 115, huh? So that's more accurate. Certainly more accurate. So that's how you read weather models. That's how you read weather models. Absolutely, James. Yep. Jack Attack, thanks Weather on the Go. Subscribe to your new channel. Have a good day. Thank you so much for the support. And you're welcome, Maria. Thank you as well for showing support. Yeah, we're up to 154 subscribers on the new channel. If you folks live in the upper Midwest, the northern plains, the central plains, the Great Lakes, or the Ohio Valley, and you're on the live stream today, and you have not yet subscribed to my new YouTube channel, I'm doing 2 YouTube channels. This one here is my main channel, Weather on the Go, and then that will focus on the entire continent of North America for the most part, including southern Canada, the United States, the tropics, like we mentioned. And then my new channel is actually in the, it's pinned at the top of the comments. So click on that and you can follow me there. It's North Central Weather Center. We focus on the North Central states here. So a more detailed look at your region if you live into those areas. That will provide you a lot more clarity on the weather pattern for your area. Because I know, a lot of people wanted me to do that because, when you're doing a channel that is talking about the entire continent of North America and then you're talking about the entire United States, all 50 states, it's kind of hard to do regional forecasts on that. So I said, hey, I'll start a new channel. We're going to go over there. We're going to do it across the north central United States and give more detailed forecasts across those areas. I got a lot of requests for the Midwest. So I said, hey, I'll do that. And we got every single day. We're going to be, for the most part, doing forecasts for this. And yeah, it's going to be at 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So that is when those forecasts will be out. So go follow me and subscribe to that channel as well. I appreciate it. Watch my videos. Lots of great work on there. Gives you a more detailed look at the weather pattern for sure. Tyler says, now will Pennsylvania get hot temperatures in the 90s into the middle of next week? Yeah, let's take a look at Pennsylvania here. So here's Pennsylvania right there. Let's go to the European model. A lot more accurate usually. So you said into the middle of next week? Yeah, so here is Tuesday. Yeah, we're getting into the 80s. Not too unbearable there. You're into the middle and upper 80s, from about 80. All right. I'm not sure what happened there, but I apologize. Yeah, so we're getting into the 90s there on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, we're going to be into the mid 90s, and then by Friday we're going to cool back off a little bit as that active pattern moves in. So just not the worst heat wave you've ever seen. I think the northern side of Pennsylvania will probably see the cooler temperatures, relatively speaking. The hottest temperatures with this heat wave will be focused across the southwestern corner of Pennsylvania near the Pittsburgh region, down into southeastern and southern Pennsylvania. So we're talking more of Philadelphia and Baltimore, those areas as well as we go. And I know Baltimore's in Maryland, but so those areas will definitely be much warmer to the south, closer to that periphery of the ridge. Across the Northeast, it's really not going to get that hot. Into Maine, into Vermont, New Hampshire, we're going to have a lot of cloud cover, lots of those storm complexes moving through potentially with heavy rain and severe weather. So it looks like it's mainly going to be more of a nuisance type of heat wave for you, maybe a couple days into the middle and upper 80s. And other than that, we're not really getting too hot there and towards the interior parts of the Northeast. Who else is in the chat? Make sure to hit that like button. We're trying to get to 100 likes here on the live stream. I was only focusing on an hour live stream today, and it looks like we're doing good. We're at about 45 minutes. Mike Wagner, thanks for joining, man. I appreciate it. Jersey Shore, nice today. Oh, you're on vacation. Well, there you go. I wish I was on vacation. I'm on vacation in my room right now. Oh, you're just saying Jersey Shore. Okay, gotcha. I thought you were on vacation. Yeah, good fishing weather down here. If you like to go fishing off the Jersey Shore there, perfect weather for that. Let's see. Thank you. I live in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, near Philly. Yeah, absolutely. It looks pretty hot there. Like I said, the hottest temperatures will be across the southern side of Pennsylvania there. So, yeah, my fall forecast will be out in the next couple weeks. I'm really working on doing research for that, and there's a lot of different factors in play. So bear with me. Patience has a virtue. There's so much to look at with the fall forecast to get it accurate. You have to look at the sea surface temperatures. Like I mentioned, the Gulf of Mexico is important. You have to look at the Eastern Pacific sea surface temperatures, the El Nino that is moving through and intensifying as we speak, and just the overall orientation of the jet stream over top of that. And it's just, there's so much to go on. So a lot of work to do on my end of things here. But I'll likely have it out at the latest, my fall forecast will be out August 10th. At the earliest, I would say, what's today? July 22nd. The earliest my fall forecast will be out is probably, the end of July, like the 30th, 31st time frame. So we're talking like next Sunday, Monday, or the following Sunday, Monday, rather. All right, once again, we'll look at the total precip here, and I think we're going to wrap it up. If anybody has any other questions, be sure to ask now. Otherwise, I think we're going to start to wrap up the live stream. Like I said, severe weather is going to be a major contender up here in the Midwest. It's going to start dry, and you're going to wonder, well, what in the heck is he talking about? There's no rain coming. Well, it's going to start hot in the Midwest and turn wetter as we go on through the end of July and into early August. So it'll start hot, be very hot and dry into the portions of the Midwest, northern Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Dakotas, and then trend wetter and a lot cooler for those areas over top that ridge of high pressure as we go into the first week in August there in late July. But don't be expecting any rain, like I said. If you live in Wichita, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth, Little Rock, Memphis, just forget about the rain. Not happening really that much. If you get under a thunderstorm, any of those areas I just mentioned, consider yourself lucky as we go into early August. So that's what we're seeing. That is currently what it's looking like across the United States. And even out west, like Idaho, Oregon, California, Nevada, we're just really not seeing a lot of rain there either. The high pressure is going to be strong there as well. So there is a little bit of a signal for monsoonal weather to come back in the Four Corners region. Maybe the most signal there into southern Arizona. So that'll be a nice reprieve for the Phoenix region. I'm not too sure it gets that far west into like Yuma, Arizona, or anything like that, or Las Vegas even, but it'll get close, and whoever gets the rain will really benefit out here because it's been hot for so long. I'm sure a lot of people would welcome the rain with open arms out here. You're back, Rain Maths. Thanks for joining back. Winters here are like Virginia. It used to be 40 years ago. Well, yeah, I know. It's like the winters are warmer. It seems like they're warming up faster every single year, and it's like a lot of the winters around here in the Midwest, especially like in northern Illinois or Wisconsin, is like it starts warmer, and then by the time it cools off, it's already like late January, early February, and then you get snow then, and then by the time that happens, the winter's over. So that's kind of actually what I foresee possibly happening this year, but I'm not too sure yet. We're still a little ways away from winter. And of course, I have my winter forecast coming out. That'll be around Halloween time frame, so the end of October. Yeah, this winter is going to be very interesting with looking at El Nino for sure. Usually with El Nino winters, you have warmer, drier conditions up here, like where we see the rain now. It flips for the winter. So we're seeing drier conditions here, and then pull this rain further south. That's like where we see a lot of the ice and snow line, and then we have more nor'easters in El Nino winters more times than not. So every El Nino is different, and take it with a grain of salt. Climate is changing so fast right now, believe it or not, and a lot of the analogs that support this, like 2015's El Nino, 2011, all the way back to 2009 time frame, even before that. I mean, they're not really supporting what we're seeing too much right now. In some aspects they are, but other aspects they're not, because it's just the climate is changing so fast right now to where it's hard to keep up. It's really hard to keep up. The data is just fresh now for sure. Hello from Hedgesville, West Virginia. Thank you for joining, Catherine. I appreciate it. I wonder if I get an enhanced risk for my birthday. You want an enhanced risk of severe weather for your birthday? I'm not sure. It's possible. But it just depends on where that sets up. Right now, it looks like the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region. I can go over the GFS run here, the American model, and overall it trends a lot wetter for the eastern two-thirds of the country through the first full week in August. Just a little teaser there for you. Let's look at the Canadian model. Yeah, basically the same thing. So I say if you live from the Dakotas to Wisconsin, down to the Illinois Valley, and then east through the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and Northeast, you're going to see heavy rain, and you're probably going to see at least a chance or two of severe weather within the next 2 weeks. Just going to happen with what I see here. We're tired of the severe weather here in Kentucky. Well, it looks good for you. Let me go back to the Euro. Yeah, it looks like the heaviest of that will be further north. You're going to be in the influence of that ridge. You could see some, stronger storms with heavy rain late in the period into early August, but I think mainly it will be well to the north. So like Michigan, the southern Great Lakes region from Chicago to Gary, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Toledo, those areas. Erie, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, well to the north. Love your stream. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Yeah, folks, if you have not yet subscribed to the new channel, I know I sound like a broken record, but just all the new people joining here this live stream, go follow me or subscribe to the channel. It's pinned at the top of the comments, and you can go follow my new channel there. I will have updates on that for the North Central United States. I just posted 2 videos the other day. You can go check that out. Lots of great stuff on there. That's mainly focusing on the northern plains, the central plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes. Yeah, my email is there. If you have any questions, yes, you can always email me. It's weatheronthego20 at yahoo.com. What's fall looking like? Again, my fall forecast officially will be out either, like I said, July 30th, between July 30th and August 10th, somewhere in that time frame. More than likely not, it'll be the first week in August sometime. So that is where I'm seeing it currently being finished and completed. So, but right now it's looking warm probably because the Gulf of Mexico is boiling. So if you're in the eastern two thirds, right now I haven't looked at everything, but it certainly looks warm, like a warm fall across much of the United States, east of the Rockies. You miss snow? I don't. I do and I don't. I mean, if it's summertime, I'm not thinking about snow. I guess when it starts to cool off, then I'm like, hey, it might as well snow, but I'm not too worried about it right now. It's only July 22nd, so I can wait. I can wait. But I get that. I get that you like snow. It's been a while too since I've used my snowblower a lot too. We were in a La Nina winter, and you would think that the Upper Midwest and the Great Lakes would see a lot of snow in the La Nina winter. Nope, didn't happen, and that's why I say every La Nina is different because it truly is. The climate is changing so fast, and much of the winter last winter was not La Nina driven, really. The weather pattern was like neutral, it seemed, or El Nino conditions even in the winter. You remember the atmospheric river in California last year? That wasn't El Nino conditions. That was like what an El Nino would bring. So, who's there? There's no telling what would happen this winter. We're in an El Nino winter this winter, more than likely, and um, we could have La Nina conditions for a time. It's weird how that works. It really is. So we'll see what happens. We didn't get much snow this winter in Kentucky. Yeah, I know Kentucky, like the lower Ohio River Valley, like Louisville, Lexington to Paducah, those areas in Kentucky really didn't see a lot of snow. If I remember right, you folks only saw like a couple all right snowstorms, like a few inches here and there, those nickel and dime type snows, but yeah, it wasn't anything too extravagant. I remember that. Yes, I know. Up there in the Twin Cities, if that's what you're talking about, I believe, because I remember the how much snow up there. Minneapolis to like La Crosse, Wisconsin, got crushed with snow last year. They had like 3 or 3.5 feet. It was crazy how much snow they got, and that was in like one storm. They had like 36 inches of snow. It was crazy. It was crazy. Not a trace of snow, Jason said. Yeah, I get you, man. I know it's when you see the graphics and it says, you're gonna have a snowy winter, and then you're expecting it. Your expectations are very high, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, man, I didn't get that much snow. I know, I get the feeling. I have a snowblower. I used it twice last winter. It wasn't very fun. It really wasn't. I like using my snowblower. I really do. And I think the last 2 or 3 winters in a row. I think if we're talking about 3 winters in a row, I want to say that I've used my snowblower in 3 winters combined, probably about 7or 8 times. And that's really not that many times. I live in northern Illinois, and you'd think that we would have more snow than just getting the snowblower out. And of course, I don't get my snowblower out unless it's like, 2 or 3 inches of snow or more. I'm not going to snowblow like a dusting or a half inch of snow, but, you know, if there's 3 inches of snow on the ground or so or higher, I'll go snow blow. And of course, we only got those storms where we got like an inch here, an inch and a half there, 2.5 inches here. It's like we didn't get those big, foot of snow events or 2 feet of snow or anything like that. So that's what was kind of a letdown. But what do you do? Hey, Linda, thanks for joining back. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. No snow at all last year. I'm glad my winters are finally becoming milder. Yeah, well, the winter is the fastest changing season of all 4 seasons. It's warming up faster than all of the other seasons. Spring, summer, and fall are not warming up as fast, but winter is certainly warming up faster than all the 4 seasons combined. I'm on the Lake Erie shore. Yeah, you get some good. There was a good lake effect snow band setting up near Buffalo last year. That produced a lot of snow. It started off very strong with that lake effect snow last winter. That was really taking off there into Buffalo for sure. I was very surprised about that. Started the season with not a lot of snow, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got a huge lake effect snow event, feet and feet of snow. Yeah, hey folks, if you have not subscribed to the channel, we only need 8 more people. 8, that's it. Single digits. 8 more people to subscribe, and we're at 32,800. So that would be pretty cool if we could reach that today. Also, 100 likes is what I'm. So go subscribe to my new channel. It's pinned at the top. The message for that is pinned at the top of the comments. Go follow my new channel if you live in the north central United States. In north central is probably as far south as Kansas, Missouri, and Kentucky. That's as far south as I'm going to talk about mainly. I might touch on Tennessee, but that's really south central. So I'm talking about Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, sometimes into West Virginia, and then on north. That's what I'm talking about for the north central. That's my new channel. So go subscribe to that one. That's a more detailed breakdown for an area that I will focus on a lot more of here. So this channel is more of the entire United States. So I was born in Kankakee. You're born in Kankakee. Yeah, that's in eastern Illinois. I know where that's at. Autumn says we didn't even use a snowblower last year. Only had to shovel one time, I believe. Yeah, I know, right? It's the same way here. Pretty much. Back in Christmas, we had Arctic tundra 15 below zero in Kentucky, coldest I've ever seen. Yeah, try 55 degrees below zero with the wind chill in Minnesota or even northern Illinois a couple winters ago. We had frost quakes. You guys know what frost quakes are? It's where the ground is so cold and it just contracts and expands so much because of the extreme cold, and it actually makes the ground go boom, basically. It's like a quake. Kind of like an earthquake, but a mini one from, just the Arctic air. Usually you see that around, like you hear it around your basement, usually. Like if you're in the basement, you hear it the most in the wintertime when it's extremely cold. We're talking like 10 below, 30 below, 50 below zero with the wind chill. It's crazy. Grace said, I remember one time by me, by the Twin Cities, and we got a severe weather outbreak in the winter. It was 60 degrees. Really? Wow. Do you remember what month that was? Was that in December or like January? That's pretty warm for up there in the Twin Cities. Yeah, who knows? We could see that as well. It's the second severe weather season. That's considered the second severe weather season is the fall into the early winter in the Midwest. The National Weather Service said this was an above average year for severe weather. Yeah, it's been very active for sure. It has certainly. I think all the snow went to California. I think so too. They saw, yeah, the Sierra Nevada mountains. Man, yeah, they saw a lot of snow. A lot. I think the Truckee, California region certainly got a lot of snow there. They certainly got, I want to say, I'll have to go look. I think they got well over like 6 feet. It was a lot of snow. Oh, yeah, that was with that strong low pressure system. Yeah, December 2021. Yeah, that was a derecho. That was a serial derecho. That's the one. Those are derechos that happen in the cooler season, the cold season. So, like in December, January, February, or even in a March, sometimes you see like um, if you have stronger low pressure system and a very strong sharp cold front, they can be very strong lifting mechanisms for thunderstorms. And obviously, thunderstorms form off of lifts. So you got to have a lifting mechanism. That would be a cold front. All right. Yeah, I don't know where I went there. Again, my internet is being weird today, so bear with me. I appreciate it. Well, that I think we'll wrap it up, folks. We were talking about the winter a little bit. We went a little bit off topic. as we do sometimes. I haven't live streamed in a while, so I uh, I just wanted to update you mainly on the tropics today, and just tell you that hey, there's something to watch in the tropics as we go later into next week. So we'll continue to watch it, folks, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend. Stay safe out there, stay hydrated. Don't panic with this tropical weather activity. There's a lot to look at over the next 7 days, and something to. We'll continue to watch it for you folks, and we'll keep you updated. It doesn't look too extreme for the Gulf of Mexico right now, but that will, of course, it will continue to watch it over the next several days to see what happens, and we'll have to wait and see. So, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Jack Attack, Tim Key, Rain Maves, Outfit Boss, Grace. Thank you as well to Linda Loper, Jason, Autumn. Thank you to um, Mike Wagner as well, Catherine. Thank you to Tyler and Maria. James Moody, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Paul, thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining today's live stream. I will be live streaming potentially, even on my new channel, if we have severe weather breaking out across the north central United States as we go into next week or next weekend, especially if it's a higher end event. Usually on that channel, I'll be live streaming if it's an enhanced risk or higher. So an enhanced, a moderate, or high risk, I will likely be updating on that channel. Again, the channel, the new one for the north central United States, for Kansas, Missouri, and Kentucky, and even West Virginia on north, that region, the northern central plains, the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley, I will focus on my new channel. That is it's pinned at the top of the comments. Just click on that and you can follow me on North Central Weather Center. A lot of great stuff on there. Go watch my videos. We're already up to 159 subscribers and we're trying to grow that page very big as well, just like this one. So I appreciate it, folks. And if you know anybody that lives in those areas I mentioned, the Northern Plains, the Central Plains, Midwest, Great Lakes, or Ohio Valley, give them a shout out to my page, to Weather on the Go as well, and the North Central Weather Center page, the new YouTube channel, and tell them that I will cover that as well. So if they like the weather, you can find it here. So I appreciate it, folks. Go watch my videos from today on both channels, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great rest of your Saturday, everybody. Goodbye.